you play Mridanga yet? Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamanati Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Madhava Kunjabi Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamanatira Vanachadi Jamanatira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivijagacharya Astaparasapasi Srimad His Divine Grace Sri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavarinda Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Gaura Premanandi Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya It's been since Friday evening, separation from Canto 10, Chapter 12. Saturday and Sunday, two different things. So, on Friday evening, we completed a really long section about the cowherd boys entering into the Vrindavan forest on the very day that later in the day they encountered Aghasura, the big serpent demon, and many other things happen in the chapter 12. And the verse that took so long to cover is because it's so important is, if you have your little handheld device, you can look up 10, 12, 11. 10, 12, 11, because we're going to chant it together. And it's a very important verse. It's describing, among other things, the good fortune of the residents of Vrindavan. Specifically, the good fortune of the cowherd boys. You've got the verse in front of you, okay? Itam satama sukhan prutya dasyam gatanam paradaivatena maya shatanam naradarakena sakam brajro krita punya punjaha. Let's do it one more time. Itam satam brahma sukhanubrutya dasyam gatanam paradaivatena maya shritanam naradarakena sakam vajaro krita punya punja. So the focus is going to the cowherd boys in Vrindavan who are playing with Krishna. And that absolute truth, who they're playing with, is the same as the object of realization of the Gyanis, or desire Brahmasuk, merging with Brahman. It's the same realization of those who are engaged in Dasya Bhakti, worshipping the personality of Godhead through their service. And for those who are materialists, the Maya Ashrita, those who have taken shelter of Maya, we see him as an ordinary person, but the cowherd boys, they're playing with him. So that's the special good fortune, elevated position of the cowherd boys. So the translation reads, in this way means all the previous 5 verses, it's what the cowherd boys, how they would play during the day with Krishna, and Krishna would play with them and the calves, and they just have a good time. In this way, the cowherd boys used to play with Krishna, who is the source of Brahman effulgence for the Gyanis desiring to merge into that effulgence, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead for devotees who have accepted eternal servitorship, and who for the ordinary persons is but another ordinary child. The cowherd boys, having accumulated the results of pious activities from many lives, were able to associate in this way with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How can one explain their great fortune? So this is Shukadeva Goswami, and after describing and describing and describing, he just has this outburst of ecstatic appreciation, ecstatic love. How fortunate are these cowherd boys? So he's describing his Brajalila. Now he's just describing their good fortune. It's not only them, all the residents of Vrindavan in different sections, they get that same kind of special glorification. Then, along the same vein, the next text continues. Yogis may undergo severe austerities and penances for many births by practicing yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, none of which are easily performed. Yet, in due course of time, this is many births worth, when these yogis attain the perfection of controlling the mind, they will still be unable to taste even a particle of dust from the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What then can we describe about the great fortune of the inhabitants of Brajabhumi Vrindavan, with whom the Personality of Godhead personally lived and who saw the Lord face to face? So the previous verse, this celebrated verse 11, is describing the impersonalists, the devotees, but he hasn't yet described the yogis. So now this verse is the yogis, who, after many, many births of severe practice, may, in perfection, control the mind, but they can't taste even a particle of dust. Now, this particle of dust is explained in the commentary. It means, in case you've wondered, because I've always wondered what is the intention it's having a relationship with. Now, the Dasya Bhaktas, they have some relationship certainly in terms of their service, but now this is heightened by the direct contact with the Supreme Lord. They personally lived with and who saw the Lord face to face every day. So here's Prabhupada's purport, chapter 12, text 12. We can simply imagine the great fortune of the inhabitants of Vrindavan. It is impossible to describe how, after many, many births of pious activities, they have become so fortunate. So as was spoken about the cowherd boys, Prabhupada is applying this to all the residents of Vrindavan. That's the sadhana, siddha persons. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, what to speak of playing with Krishna, even establishing a relationship with Krishna, is very rare. That is the intent of this verse. The yogis do not attain even one particle of dust of Krishna's feet, pada pam sahu. Those who are fully concentrating their minds, dhritat mabihi, cannot attain him. It was mentioned earlier that Krishna is not sukhapa, easily attained. Swayamstita, being self-situated, indicates that seeing him does not depend even on sadhana. Oh, what great fortune! Dishtam aho. Oh, a happy festival! Who can describe the good fortune or happiness of the Brajvasis who see Krishna, unobtainable by yogis, who cannot even attain a particle of dust at his feet after concentrating their minds for lifetimes? Now, the meaning of seeing him does not depend even on sadhana. Doesn't mean it's optional. It means it's not if you do this, you get that. Just do enough sadhana and you have your credential. You paid for your item at the store and now you're entitled to the item at the store. It's not a mercantile exchange. I do this, I get that. It's dependent upon mercy. Doesn't mean don't do sadhana, or it's optional. Jiva Goswami commentary explains, not even considering the great fortune of their constant playing with Krishna, the great souls cannot even attain, as the yogis, cannot even attain the fortune of seeing Krishna. So the previous is, the emphasis has gone to playing with Krishna. Here he is taking the emphasis to seeing Krishna, which all people in Braja see. I don't know if you attended the classes. There was a series, more than one, on the distinction between meditation, like the meditation that's done in Tapaloka, and the fixing one's mind on Krishna that comes with bhakti. That fixing one's mind on Krishna is by attachment, and with that attachment then Krishna shows his form. Remember, will you attend that discussion? No. It's just a quick, because there's details in all these recordings. We read the section where Pipalayana Rishi is one of the Navayogendras. The Navayogendras are the persons who instructed King Nimi the beginning parts of Canto 11. They're sons of Rishabdev, 9 perfected souls. They're one of their ashrams, places of habitation, is in Tapaloka, and they're meditators, and they're explaining the meditation process to Gopakumar. You know what's Gopakumar? You know what Gopa means, right? Gopi means the young girls, and Gopa means young boys. Gopa, cowherd boy. Gopa. Gopi, Gopa. And Kumar means a particular age, youth. Kumara Achlet Pragyo, from Bhagavatam, Prahlad Maharaj. Kumara is, well, when you go to school, that's the Kumara age. Kumara is 5 to 10. Bala is childhood, and then comes Kumara. So when you turn 5 and you go to school, that's school age. Kumara. So Gopa Kumar, he's a 5-year-old boy who, that's his name, is Gopa Kumar. He was given a mantra when he was just 5. He was given a mantra by a guru in Vrindavan, because he lived in Vrindavan. He herded cows with the other boys. And he chanted his mantra, and his mantra was very powerful. His guru told him, through this mantra, you all desirable things will be attained. So he had lots of desires, he was a little boy. And he went here and went there and went there and went there and went there. So one of the places he went, through the power of his mantra, was Tapaloka. Tapa means austerity. Tapa. Tapasya. Heard that term? Tapasya, austerity. So there's people, there's austere brahmacharis, celibate men, that live in this region called Tapaloka. It's very high in the planetary structure. Above heaven is Maharloka, then Janaloka, then Tapaloka, and then the topmost, just above Tapaloka, is Lord Brahma's planet, the topmost planet. So Gopakumar went to Tapaloka, and he saw these residents there just engaged in meditation for a while. And he was like let's have a conversation. They were in meditation, so he didn't disturb. Then they were explaining to him about the meditation process. And they said, putting it really simply, what are you running around looking for Gopakumar for? We see him all the time. We see him all the time in our meditation. And you want to see with your eyes, but they gave this whole philosophy that says, before something is recognized with the eyes, it has to register in the mind. So really seeing is in the mind. So why are you running around for your eyes to go see Madan Gopal? Just see him in your mind. We'll teach you the process. It's really fantastic. And then you can stop running around looking for Madan Gopal. So he tried it out, and he saw Madan Gopal. And he thought, wow, this is great. But somehow it just didn't quite make it. Wasn't the same as seeing, not with the material eyes, but with spiritual eyes, is different than seeing in the mind. And so he eventually left. He went some other places. And when he went to some other places, he was instructed by the Vishnu Dutas. You know who the Vishnu Dutas are, right? Agents of Vishnu. You know the Ajamila story? So it's the Vishnu Dutas that came. Those are the Vishnu Dutas. The agents of Vishnu. The Vishnu Dutas congratulated him. Nice going, Gopakumar. You, because your bhakti is so strong, you didn't stay in Tapaloka, although it was pretty convincing, sounded really good, and in your meditation you could see Madan Gopal, but it's not the same. I mean, so his experience was being confirmed. It's a long section, but seeing within and seeing without. They're not able to see without. They can, in their mind they can see, which is nice. It's better than not seeing. But it's not the same as seeing with your whole being, seeing through the agency of bhakti. And that's what's being presented here. All of that explanation is, there are yogis that after many lifetimes of severe practice, they may be able to, may not also, they may be able to control their mind. And in their state of controlled mind, they're still not seeing the Lord. And the residents in Vrindavan, they're constantly seeing the Lord. They're better than yogis. They're better than the Brahmavadis, the ones that want to merge in the happiness of Brahman. They're beyond that. So now back to these yogis. Even the most perfected, elevated ones cannot even receive a grain of dust from his feet. So that's Jiva Goswami's words. A grain of dust from his feet means they cannot establish any sort of relationship with him. So in Tapaloka, they're seeing, but there's no relationship. And that's the Madgatena Antaratmana message, always thinking of Krishna within, is through attachment to him, to that relationship with him, the attachment to him. Nice. They cannot see from far away, even a ray of the devotees who drink or gaze at the Lord's feet. Pada, pa, to drink. They drink with prema, though the yogis, on attaining samadhi, have made their minds steady by hardships of pratyahara, yama, and niyama for many lives. That person, Swayam Bhagavan, Saha Eva, whom they see directly with their eyes, Brijvasis, is situated in his Swarup, or his nature, Swayam. and is firmly, eternally existing there with them. This usage is similar to, and makes a reference from the Upanishads, Narayana, who is the whole universe and is spread everywhere, exists there eternally. In amazement, he says, this is Shukadeva Goswami speaking, because the previous he was amazement, and here's another amazement. Ah! How can one describe their good fortune? How can one describe what has been fixed, their great festival of joy? It cannot be described at all. So now we're continuing, just to keep focus. It's this one verse, 10, 12, 12. We read the verse. Here's an explanation or commentary on that verse found elsewhere. Chapter 51 of Canto 10 is Kalyavana chasing Krishna. And he's scolding him. You're a Yadu, why are you running from the battlefield? Stop and fight. So, while chasing the Lord, the Yavana cast insults at him, saying, You took birth in the Yadu dynasty. It's not proper for you to run away. But still, Kalyavana could not reach Krishna because his sinful reactions had not been cleansed away. Commentary, that was the verse. Here's Jiva Goswami's commentary on that verse, making reference to ours for this evening. Seeing he could not catch Krishna, Kalyavana began scolding him in order to stop him. Since Krishna was famous among the Yadus for his courage, he should not flee. Scolding him, he followed him, but he could not catch him at all. Apa. The reason is Ataha Shubha. Literally, he has not destroyed his sins. Since his sins were eradicated by suddenly seeing the Lord, presence of sin cannot be the cause of his not attaining the Lord. One could propose that if Kalyavana's auspiciousness were unimpeded, he would have caught his enemy. However, he could not catch Krishna because of his inimical mentality and actions. One should not lament that Kalyavana did not get liberation, since he did attain liberation later. However, just with the destruction of their sins, demons do not attain the Lord. Like other forms of the Lord, killing of Ravana and Hiranyakashipu, etc. They were killed by the Lord. Their sins were eradicated, but they didn't achieve liberation. They came again. So here's a quote. Now, from Canto 2, Chapter 7, this is about Krishna. In Krishna's hand they did. The demons headed by, so here's a recitation of names of demons. It's not auspicious sound, but because they're killed by Krishna, it's nice. Pralamba, Denuka, Baka, Keshi, Arishta, the wrestlers, Kuvalyapita, Kamsa, Kalyavana, Dvidvida, Pondraka, Shalva, Narakasura, Balvala, Dantavakra, the seven bulls, Shambhara, Vidurata, and Rukmi, as well as those with bow in hand, glorious in fighting on the battlefield, such as the Kambojas, Matsyas, Kurus, Suranjayas, and Kaikayas, will attain Sayuja, or Vaikuntha, by the Lord, or through his instruments, Balaram, Arjuna, Bhima, and others. So that's verse 2734, just like in the third chapter of Canto 1, List of Incarnations, seventh chapter of Canto 2, List of Incarnations. And when it gets to Krishna, there's several verses, not just one. And this is one of those, that he gave liberation to the demons he killed. The next, the Lord cannot be attained by any ordinary means, and that's this verse, 10:12:12. Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, whose foot dust cannot be seen by yogis in samadhi, who have controlled their mind by severe hardship from many births, is eternally situated here, directly visible to the eyes of the people of Braja. Oh, how can the good fortune of the people of Braja be described? And then next he goes to the means of achieving that. The special means is indicated. So the previous is, but by ordinary means the Lord cannot be achieved. Here's the special means how he can be achieved. Chapter 14, Brahma's Prayers, says, only by bhakti, with full faith, can the devotees obtain me, Paramatma, the object of love. Bhakti, fixed in me, purifies even a dog-eater with his low birth. Excuse me, that's not Brahma's Prayers, this is Canto 11. Wonder why it's first person. It's Uddhava Gita. Uddhava Gita, pardon me. So Krishna speaking to Uddhava. Only by bhakti, Narada says something quite similar about only by bhakti, but only by bhakti with full faith can the devotees obtain me, Paramatma, the object of love. Bhakti, fixed in me, purifies even a dog-eater of his low birth. And then Canto 10, Chapter 15. Some of the cowherd boys, who were all great souls, would then massage his lotus feet, and others, qualified by being free of all sin, would expertly fan the Supreme Lord. Last paragraph. In the above verse, Hatha Papmanaha refers to the highest bhakti, and that is devoid completely of indifferent or hostile attitude towards the Lord. Thus, in the verse, the phrase Atha Ashubhaha means his inimical attitude towards the Lord. That's the inimical attitude of Kalyavana. How could he attain the Lord in the manner that Yashoda caught him as he ran away? That's it for this evening. So, once again, in different ways, the 10th canto is pointing out the with many references from scripture and so forth, the unique kind of love of the residents of Vrindavan compared to any other kind of love. Like this Dasya Bhakti, it doesn't say specifically, but it seems to indicate the mood of love in Vaikuntha, the mood of service. Just simply focusing on his opulence and his majesty and his feature Bhagavan. Now there's very special devotees like Narada, that certainly, and Uddhava, and for that matter, even Queen Kunti, they understand Krishna as Bhagavan. And they have a relationship with Krishna as Bhagavan. But they don't have the same good fortune as the residents of Vrindavan, during his youthful pastimes at least, of seeing him all the time and having a direct relationship, playing with him, being the mother and father of him. Like the contrast is made of Mother Yasoda and Nanda with even Vasudeva and Devaki, that they had the position of mother, but they didn't have any part of Krishna's childhood pastimes. So, think about it. You have a son or a daughter, and that's it. There's no activity with the son or the daughter for their whole youth. It's just, they're gone. Whereas even the residents of Vrindavan that weren't the mother-father, but they had the relationship with Krishna like mother-father, and they were more fortunate, more blessed than Vasudeva and Devaki as mother-father. It's described that when they were doing their household duties, their minds were completely absorbed in Krishna, that although it was their home, and Krishna didn't come back at night to their home after herding the calves or cows, they were doing their household duties out of devotion for Krishna, because he meant everything to them. How fortunate. And then when they would see him, what they felt. When they weren't seeing him, what they felt. And so, from so many different angles, there's like a refrain that doesn't stop. It's again and again and again. Because it's so special, we're being reminded of its specialness in so many ways again and again. We're going to hear it again tomorrow morning, same thing. And then tomorrow evening, same thing. Because it's inspiring us, it's bringing into focus the truths about the residents of Vrindavan. This is part of Krishna Tattva. And then, what to speak of the truths about Krishna, it's stimulating our attraction for that particular kind of love. It has that effect. It's meant to bring us to that kind of love. And it's natural to hanker for that kind of love. The teaching of Rupa Goswami is a teaching not only of Vaidhi Bhakti but Raganuga Bhakti. So what's the difference? Those of you that like reading Nectar Devotion and getting good grades in your Nectar Devotion class. Vaidhi simply means following the rules. It's like this thing that says he can't be attained just by good sadhana. That's Vaidhi Bhakti. Attaining is neglect your good sadhana, but it's something additional. It's hearing about and appreciating and hankering for the good fortune of the Ragatmika Bhaktas. The Ragatmika Bhaktas is defined as those who are eternal associates of Krishna, who are absorbed in the mood of love of Krishna as the Brijvasis are. And one becomes a follower of the Ragatmikas. So it starts just by hearing about them. Like, I don't know, young people commonly today have their hero. And young people today, these boys, there's some athlete. May not be something you talk to a sannyasi about, but you've got whoever that somebody is. Before in Chicago was Michael Jordan. That then wear the jersey and he's the hero, Michael Jordan. Not then it's somebody else, and then it's somebody else, and then who's the next somebody else? And like I was visiting one place, and somebody about your age very enthusiastically said, "Maharaj, what's your favorite football team?" And his father said, he doesn't participate in football watching. Then the boy didn't, he was okay. He said, "Mine is the New England Patriots." Of course, if it's New England Patriots in those days, we know who was his hero. So he, that was his. So we all have. It's natural. Yad yadashrati shreshas tatarivi tarojana. There are persons who we emulate, and in spiritual life, the emulation from those who read Bhagavatam. Of course, there's heroes like Prahlad and other great personalities, Dhruva Maharaj, etc., etc. But it leads one, in addition to Shuddha Bhakti, it leads one to Braja Bhakti. Because they're the heroes amongst the heroes. They're the superlative amongst the perfect. So they're the perfect yogis, the perfect jnanis, the perfect bhaktas, and they're the perfect amongst the perfect. And by the effect of hearing again and again is it's Raganuga Bhakti. Or it's the seed of Raganuga Bhakti. It doesn't direct us to this particular rasa or that particular rasa, although exalted is Madhurya rasa. Again and again and again. And again and again and again. And again. So because Krishna is most lovingly attracted by those who have that intense love for him, it doesn't diminish the love of Arjuna or the love of anyone of his pure devotees, because they're in a direct relationship with Krishna. But there's an exaltedness of the love of the residents of Vrindavan. It's our path is a raga path, and we don't have to get hit over the head with a hammer about it. It's there. It's right there in the Bhagavatam, and becomes part of our. We metabolize it. It becomes part of our being. You eat food, but if you don't chew your food well, you may not be able to digest it. It doesn't go into your system. It may make you sick. You got to chew your food well. Eat the right food, but then chew it well. And once it becomes digested and assimilated within the body, then you have good health, or the potential of good health, because there's always disease. As long as you have a body, you get to some kind or another. But as we hear that similarly, as we hear and internalize this sound vibration, it becomes our very life. That's how we think and how we breathe and how we live. And we conduct our activities, and the internal consciousness becomes a Krishna consciousness towards that goal of life. And as it becomes more and more just how we live our lives, it spiritualizes everything that we do. That's our Madgatena Antaratmana process, not the yogi process. Because then it becomes eligible to enter that mode of the Brijvasis, and they have this opportunity to directly see every day the personality of Godhead, at least during his childhood pastimes. And the mood changes when he leaves Vrindavan. the sweetness subsides, and the Aishvarya feature increases. The appearance of that Aishvarya feature becomes more prominent. But it's it's Krishna, 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 so we don't push that other part to the side. Prabhupada would often speak like that. Some people say, I've never heard people say, but he says some people say, oh, we're not interested in Bhagavad Gita. We're interested in, the highest. We're interested in 10th canto. Not even Bhagavatam, we're just, forget Bhagavad Gita. So, but that's also Krishna. It's not to minimize Krishna's different aspects, because Krishna Tattva is Krishna's the whole package. He's everything. And we're interested in everything that is connected with Krishna. Is there something that's not connected with Krishna? But to see everything connected with Krishna, we need to see what that sambandha, what that relationship is, that he's the source. In the morning, we're going to be discussing a very interesting topic, the relation of Maya and Krishna. It's Krishna's Maya. Sva Mayaya is the phrase. And it's like, goes back and forth and up and down and sideways on that topic, because it's part of Krishna. Now that which is part of Krishna doesn't touch Krishna. It's his external Maya acting under the agency of his internal Maya. So we're going to hear some more about that. But so how Krishna in Vrindavan is functioning is appreciated even more when we understand how Krishna is his energies, his potencies, including his illusory potency, is acting under his direction. Nothing happens without his sanction. So if you want to do really well in school, or do really well in sports, or do really well in anything, we're dependent on Krishna's mercy. The one who understands that's Krishna consciousness, and we act doing things conscious of that person who we're dependent upon, and thus have a relationship. And such a person is the best of the yogis, and the best of the gyanis, and the best of the bhaktas. They're always in that relationship. But the residents of Vrindavan, they're very special. Can't get away from it. And Krishna feels that towards them also. So let's see if we have some discussion. It's your birthday, you got to have a question today. Okay. So you go first, and you let him mull it over.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for connecting us to the Vrajavasis. It feels so much of a life. I'm sorry I couldn't follow the other lectures due to the time difference.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'll go back and hear. When you were speaking about this, the meditation, Gopakumar's interaction with the Tapalokavasis, Guru Maharaj, my thoughts are going to this, to going away to have this meditation. I was somehow thinking about that, like when you mentioned Gopakumar was not really satisfied with that, even though he was able to see Madan Gopal.
So what you're making a statement. What's your question? Why
So,
did he leave? He had something higher. Why did he leave to something lesser? That's your question. It's a good question. And the only understanding I have been able to receive is he was setting an example. With the elder son, you go off and you do what people then that are retired from family life do. So he was setting that example.
the second part is when they were explaining we have to perceive with our mind before we see with our eyes. I was thinking of our relationship with the holy name and the deities Guru Maharaj. At times it feels there is very personal reciprocation. I mean, when somehow or other, by the mercy of hearing, when the focus